no Brontosaurus.
I did not know that until you said that right now. My world has now been rocked. I feel like no Brontosaurus. Brontosaurus was a permanent part of my kind of intellectual arsenal. And now it's gone.
Gone. Completely gone from Malcolm Gladwell's life. And this is what he does. He writes books about all the things we thought we knew to be true that turned out to be wrong. I'm sorry to have broken this to you like this.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, you're never more alive than when things get turned upside down. I love the feeling, actually, of getting my apple cart overturned.
And on the show today, things that might possibly overturn your apple cart as well. 5 misconceptions about things we are convinced are right. So let's start with Malcolm Gladwell's TED Talk.
So I wanted to tell a story that really obsessed me when I was writing my new book. And the reason the story obsessed me is that I thought I understood it, and then I went back over it and I realized that I didn't understand it at all. Ancient Palestine had a...
So you know the story. It's a famous battle which may or may not have taken place sometime in the late 10th, early 9th century BC. The Israelites, they were led by King Saul, and they were fighting the Philistines. And they were locked in a stalemate across a valley. So they decided to settle it once and for all in one epic battle between 2 warriors. The Philistines go first.
And the Philistine who sent down their mighty warrior is a giant. He's 6'9".
He's got armor, a sword, javelin, a spear.
He is absolutely terrifying.
And none of the Israelites want to take him on, except
this young shepherd boy. And he goes up to Saul and he says, I'll fight him. Saul says, you can't fight him. That's ridiculous. You're this kid. This is this mighty warrior. But the shepherd is adamant. He says, no, you don't understand. I have been defending my flock against lions and wolves for years. I think I can do it.
So Saul says, okay. And the boy, he picks up a few stones
and puts them in his shepherd's bag and starts to walk down the mountainside to meet the giant.
And from a distance, the giant sees this tiny little man holding a shepherd's staff.
He's insulted. And he says, am I a dog that you would come to me with sticks?
And the shepherd boy says nothing. He just winds up his sling and, with only one rock, he hits the target.
Right between the eyes.
And the giant
falls down, either dead or unconscious. And the shepherd boy runs up and takes his sword and cuts off his head. And the Philistines see this and they turn and they just run. And of course the name of the giant is Goliath, and the name of the shepherd boy is David. And the reason that story has obsessed me over the course of writing my book is that everything I thought I knew about that story turned out to be wrong.
I mean, everything you thought you knew about this was wrong.
The emphasis is all wrong. The story is dramatic, and I think it's more dramatic when you know the hidden story. David in that story is supposed to be the underdog, right? In fact, that term, David and Goliath, has entered our language as a metaphor for improbable victories by some weak party over someone far stronger. Now, why do we call David an underdog? Well, we call him an underdog because all he has is that Goliath is outfitted with all of this modern weaponry, right? This glittering coat of armor and a sword and a javelin and a spear, and all David has is this sling. Well, let's start there with the phrase, all David has is this sling, because that's the first mistake that we make. In ancient warfare, there are 3 kinds of warriors. There's cavalry, there is heavy infantry, and there's artillery. And artillery are archers, but more importantly, slingers. And a slinger is someone who has a leather pouch with 2 long cords attached to it. And they put a projectile, or either a rock or a lead ball, inside the pouch, and they whirl it around like this, and they let one of the cords go, and the effect is to send the projectile forward towards its target. Right? That's what David has. And it's important to understand that that sling is not a slingshot, right? It's not a child's toy. When David rolls it around like this, he's turning the sling around probably at 6 or 7 revolutions per second. And that means that when the rock is released, it's going forward really fast, probably 35 meters per second. More than that, the stones in the Valley of Elah were not normal rocks, they were barium sulfate, which are rocks twice the density of normal stones. If you do the calculations on the stopping power of the rock fired from David's sling, it's roughly equal to the stopping power of a 45 millimeter handgun, right? This is an incredibly devastating weapon. From medieval tapestries, we know that slingers were capable of hitting birds in flight. They're incredibly accurate, right? When David lines up, and he's not 200 yards away from Goliath, he's quite close to Goliath. When he lines up and fires that thing at Goliath, he has every intention and every expectation of being able to hit Goliath at his most vulnerable spot between his eyes. It's not just that we misunderstand David and his choice of weaponry. It's also that we profoundly misunderstand Goliath. Goliath is not what he seems to be. There's all kinds of hints of this in the biblical text. Things that are, in retrospect, are quite puzzling and don't square with his image as this mighty warrior. So to begin with, the Bible makes special note of how slowly Goliath moves. Now that is weird, right? Here is this mighty warrior, and then there's that strange comment he makes to David. Am I a dog that you should come to me with sticks? Right? Sticks? David only has one stick. Well, it turns out that there's been a great deal of speculation within the medical community over the years about whether there's something fundamentally wrong with Goliath, an attempt to make sense of all of those apparent anomalies. So Goliath is head and shoulders above all of his peers in that era. And usually when someone is that far out of the norm, there's an explanation for it. So the most common form of giantism is a condition called acromegaly. And acromegaly is caused by a benign tumor on your pituitary gland. Do you remember the wrestler Andre the Giant, famous? He had acromegaly. There's even speculation that Abraham Lincoln had acromegaly. Right? And acromegaly has a very distinct set of side effects associated with it, principally having to do with vision. The pituitary tumor, as it grows, often starts to compress the visual nerves in your brain, with the result that people with acromegaly have either double vision or they are profoundly nearsighted. Right? Am I a dog that you should come to me with sticks? He sees 2 sticks when David has only 1. So the Israelites up on the mountain ridge looking down on him thought he was this extraordinarily powerful foe.